are a student from Germany who was and still is one of the sweetest people that I have ever met, who threatened to throw a potato at me for some reason. I don't know.
What?
It's just, okay, so.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's go back to the potato.
This was very early on in her stay. And
Okay.
I was making dinner one evening and a potato slipped out of my hand, and she interpreted that as I was throwing at her, and she threatened to throw it back and call the FBI on me.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Life Exchange Stories of Understanding. I am your host, Kelsey Ross, and today we are joined by a very special guest. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to the fine listeners?
Sure. My name is Jarrett Wells. I live in central Illinois here in the United States. I am a United Methodist pastor, and I've been involved, along with my wife, with YFU for right about 10 years now. We have just said farewell to our 5th exchange student and quick turnaround to welcome our 6th here in just a few weeks. We have 3 biological children, ages 20, 17, and 13. And we are thrilled, and our lives have been enriched with cultural exchange ever since we've gotten started. And we honestly could not imagine our lives without the experiences we've had, but more importantly, the young people that we've welcomed into our family, so that our family now extends beyond the borders of Illinois and the United States, and we have family around the world.
Wonderful. And thank you so much for taking time out of your day to talk to me and share a bit about your hosting story. I'm going to just get right into it. How did you and your wife first discover YFU? We
had known for a long time that our family was going to extend beyond our biological children. We had a soft spot for kids, for making a difference. We had explored whether it be adoption or foster, but knew there were some pitfalls or some difficulties navigating that journey. But then also the very real possibility that when we least expect it, that we could have to say goodbye to those children, and maybe into situations that we didn't necessarily like. And so we both remember our high schools having exchange students, and we decided that would be a good route to go, not only for having young people come into our family and then knowing there was a defined timeline, but also as a clergy family, knowing that we didn't have the means to travel the world, but we wanted to expose our children to more than what was beyond our town or our state, and really beyond the United States. And so we started looking into exchange organizations, and YFU was kind of at the top of the list, and we felt comfortable with the level of support that YFU offered both its students and its host families. And the adventure really began then. Yeah. And you had mentioned you were looking at other organizations, and you really like the support structure that YFU offered. Were there any other reasons that made you and your wife end up choosing us over others? Truthfully, I think one of the selling points was we were able to get a little bit of information about the students before we committed. Gotcha. With our life and our lifestyle and kind of what's expected. We wanted to make sure that a young person that we would welcome into our family would gel with our life, which admittedly may be a bit more unusual than the typical host family. Yeah, makes sense. And so talking through this hosting decision, I'm sure involved your entire family and your children as well. What were their impressions and feelings about hosting before you started? Well, our oldest was 10 at the time. And so we had 10 and 7 and 3 when when we decided to host our first student, they
Yeah.
thought it was really cool to have an older sibling from another country.
Yeah.
And so we batted it around whether or not our children were old enough to have that experience, whether we needed to wait a little bit longer. But when we found the profile of our first student, it came together.
Yeah. And tell me about that first student. What was it about them that stood out to you so much?
Just everything that we read on that student's profile just seemed to mesh with our family. And we obviously, as a clergy family, we have expectations, and we are busy with lots of things. And that student was very willing to be a part of that part of our life. They shared a lot of the same interests that our family had. And we took the leap, and it turns out that student was ecstatic to have younger siblings.
Yay. Oh, that's so great. That's a common thing that we hear with quite a few of the students and some of the host families as well, that their student, it's their first chance being either an older sibling or a younger sibling or even a sibling at all. It's great. I know that would be something I would have been interested in as an only child if we were to host when I was a little kid, having that brother or sister come into my life. That'd have been so cool. Before you were able to fully select the student, I know that there's a bit of like an application process and a vetting process. For a family who may be considering hosting, could you give a little rundown of what that process is like?
Sure. It's essentially filling out the application, lining up some references. But more than that, it's really giving some thought to who you are as a family, what you're interested in, what your lifestyle is like, giving some thought to, what's the community you live in? What makes your community unique? What makes your family unique? And then from there, there's you'll have an interview with a IFU representative, a volunteer, who'll come into your home, get to know you a little bit more. And it's the entire experience is rather than being cumbersome, is really to allow not only the organization but the family and the students to get to know each other and to be on the same page.
I'm glad to hear that the process wasn't too cumbersome and was pretty eye-opening. I really like what you said about finding what's unique about you and your communities. I haven't really ever heard it phrased that way before. So I really appreciate that insight. So you get through all of that, and then you decide the student you're going to host. That's a match. How did you go about getting to know them before they came overseas?
It started with email, not only with that student, but also with one of their parents was not fluent in English, one was. And so we began communicating regularly. We set up a video chat and had the opportunity to see and get to know each other. And admittedly, to go through the awkwardness of sometimes just sitting and staring at the screen, somebody trying to think of something to say, worried. Or not worried, but not knowing the level of, for us, English fluency on the other end, and already beginning that navigating any language barrier or it's like meeting someone for the first time cold turkey.
Right.
You know who they are, but when they pop up on the screen for the first time, this is real.
It's like, you're a living, breathing human, and you're coming to live with me and my family. It's quite the mind game in a way, trying to just make sense of it all. I can't even imagine what it's like on the students aspect too, and trying to translate and speak a whole new language. It's a lot, but
yes.
But it sounds like it's been rewarding. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And you can tell the students, for some of them, it's the first time that they've had to think in English on the fly, and then to communicate or to translate with and for their family. It does put a lot on these young people who are incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. And for a host family who has a student who maybe this, like you said, the first time that they're thinking in English on the fly, or they're trying to interpret in real time and they get flustered, how do you handle that and support them through what could be pretty frustrating moments?
More than anything, it's just reassurance and patience.
Yeah.
You don't want to hold their hand. I don't think they want that. And there are times where they go to their translator and, they're thinking in two languages at one time, but it takes, especially in the beginning, it takes an incredible amount of patience on everyone's part. And as the students get more and more comfortable, not only in their fluency, but comfortable in their surroundings, it becomes easier.
That's reassuring. That's great. That's good to know. So after getting to know the student a little bit, you finally get your date. They're coming home. So what was that moment like when you and your family were first able to meet them and see them in person?
It was surreal. It was very much there is no going back now. This is happening. And the students, bless their hearts, they're exhausted, beginning to feel jet lag already. They've said goodbye to everything they've known. For the most part, they've traveled on their own. Unless you were to meet them at a major airport, for the most part, they've probably flown to smaller, more regional airports. When we met our first student, she looked like she hadn't slept in 3 days. And when you have transfers or connecting flights, that's the word, from a major airport to a regional airport, you always have to deal with the fact that sometimes connections are missed. Sometimes flights from major airports to smaller airports get canceled at the last moment. And so the travel is not smooth. There's frequently bumps in the road or in the air, so to speak. And I think by the time the students land, they're excited to see you, but more than anything, they just want to sleep.
Yeah, fair. Oh my goodness. And I'm sure like your family just wants to talk to them and get to know them so much and, find all about them. And you as a parent have to be like, hold on, give them a second.
Yeah, it's very much you know what? We've got 10, 11 months to talk.
Yeah.
And we have learned to allow the students to be in control of those situations. If they want to talk, if they want to share, they want to be, engaging, great. But if they want to get their stuff, get in the car and collapse, we tell them, you know what, that's okay. We'll wake you up when we get home.
Yeah.
And then we'll start life together.
Sounds like a lot of accepting them where they are, as they are, and not having a lot of expectations in the beginning especially seems to be critical for success. Would you agree with that?
100%. It is, it's the beginning of a relationship. You have to, you feel each other out. You get to know each other's quirks. You get to know each other. And with too many expectations in the beginning, everybody sets themselves up for disappointment. I think it's just a matter of letting things happen and not trying to press the issue, so to speak. We have time.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And you've mentioned you're going on your 6th student that you'll be hosting. I'm curious which countries you've chosen students from.
Well, this is going to be our 4th student from Germany.
Okay.
And so I don't know what it is about Germany that keeps us coming back.
Yeah.
It's not intentional, but we've also hosted a student from Japan, and the student that we just said goodbye to is from Egypt.
Oh, interesting. And have you stuck with like just boys or just girls, or has it been a mixture?
This student will be our 3rd girl, and we've hosted 3 boys. So
okay.
It's
all right. Keeping it even.
Keeping it even, yes.
And so, of course, we had said expectations aren't too great to start off with, but I'm sure there might have been a few in the beginning, and especially trying to lay down boundaries and ground rules. For a host family who may be trying to figure out how to have that conversation, do you have any tips for how to make that go smoothly?
Be authentic. Don't try to be their best friend or we don't care, anything like that. If there's something that is really important, lay that out, establish that. These students they're typical teenagers, but they respect boundaries. They might push some, but sometimes in all of this, it's difficult or rather it's easy to get lost in the fact that we're still parents. And many of them appreciate being treated like they are a biological child, that they're not
Right.
a guest, a visitor, but they're
Yeah.
a part of the family. And so with families, there will be conflict and tension, but it's better to be authentic, lay stuff out in the beginning. And if adjustments have to be made, then that can happen. But I've seen and heard and read horror stories of host parents that didn't set those expectations. And then a few months later, if, trust was violated or something that really could have been avoided simply by communicating.
Yeah. That's another key thing that we hear, especially from host parents over and over again, is that communication and establishing that trust. It can't be overstated how important that is with creating that bond with that student. And so
Certainly.
not to keep harping on more of the down stuff, but
Well,
as I'm sure you're aware, with your 5 years of hosting experience, challenges happen, tests of faith may happen. How do you as a host family work through them to come out on the other side?
I think it again comes back to communication. We had one instance very early on with one of our students that we had to have a very frank conversation. About respect and the way that we treated and talked to one another in our family.
Yeah.
And it also, for the host family, takes some understanding and appreciation that maybe the student comes from a different environment at home where what they are doing in your family is perfectly natural for them. And, not every family is the same. And so as with everything, as with any relationship, if there's conflict or tension, if it's just swept under the rug, it will boil over eventually. That communication is so critical. For nothing else, just, it's a part of getting to know each other.
Yeah, exactly. And I think especially in the heat of conflict, it can be hard sometimes to remember that that's a child. They're a kid.
Yeah.
They only know one way of living. They're trying a whole brand new way now with your family, and when tensions rise, I think it can be really easy to forget that and let that kind of go to the wayside. Coming back to that trust, coming back to that communication is critical, like you said. And I'm glad that you were able to get through that together as a family. And now, hopefully, we can talk about some more happier stuff. So, would you say that hosting has given you more of an understanding and appreciation for the cultures where these students came from?
Without a doubt. In these days of social media and of constant media coverage where their information is so readily available, it's so easy to characterize or to caricature people and cultures without knowing anyone. But, when you host an exchange student, you can put a face to a culture in a sense and get a deeper appreciation. And hopefully the relationship develops to a point where we can ask difficult or even sensitive questions about culture, about a country's history. Day-to-day life is like somewhere other than the United States. I live in a rural area. Which most of my students that we've hosted frequently say they come from small towns of, 50,000 people. That's, our student
tiny.
from Egypt lived in a city of 5 million.
Oh, wow.
It's just to gain that deeper understanding and appreciation for those cultures, many of which have existed long before the United States was even on the world scene.
Right. And as you've mentioned, you are a man in the clergy, you're a pastor. Would you say that hosting has changed the way that you handle your sermons or what you talk about when you're in the pulpit?
Not necessarily. We always make it very clear to our students that they are not only welcome, but we would love for them to join us in our church activities. But obviously we cannot force them. All of them have joined us.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's been a source of conversation. We've hosted one student that was of a different Christian tradition than my own. And fortunately, there was a congregation of that tradition about a block away from our church. And so that student would come to the first part of our worship service and then would slip out and would attend the service of their own tradition. And so they got a bit of what they were used to, but also something different.
That is so interesting, being able to experience both of those religious services in one day. That's a beautiful blending of faith that I've never heard of before. That's
absolutely
incredible. Having the community come together to support that student, that's inspiring, really. Obviously, during your time, you're able to share your traditions and things about American culture, especially, I would say it's very different in small town USA versus big city USA. So what were some of these cultural traditions and practices that you were able to share with your students during your time with them?
The big things for small town USA obviously center around the local high school or a fall festival or a winter festival or something of that nature.
Yeah.
And it really gave me a chance to step back and to think about and maybe gain a better appreciation for my own context. Of seeing these things that bring a community together. Which that community aspect was something that all of our students have. It was almost overwhelming in a sense because everybody knew who they were. There were a lot of people they didn't know, but it seemed like everybody knew who the exchange student was. And by and large, the classmates that our students have been so welcoming and really an extension of the family. They became not just a part of our family, but these students we've hosted very much became a part of the communities in which we've lived.
Yeah.
And they developed friendships beyond our home, and sometimes even now communicate more with those friends than they do with us.
Oh, I appreciate your insights, because I also grew up in a pretty small town in Michigan. It's like you said, when the exchange students come to town, it's like they're local celebrities. Everybody knows who they are, and it's like, who are you? I've never met you, but I know you. It's so cool watching, especially in the smaller towns, how the whole community can rally around these students and make them feel a part of everything. It's one of my favorite things, and one of the reasons why I ended up getting involved with exchange as an adult in this capacity. Are there any specific memories or stories that really stand out to you about the connection that you've had with these exchange students or with your family or the community even?
I think it's so hard to pinpoint just one. Each one of our students has given us and our communities such rich memories. They very much became a part of our family. And whether it's our first student who had never played softball before, who got her first base hit, to our student from Japan who was the celebrity, to our student from Germany who was and still is one of the sweetest people that I have ever met, who threatened to throw a potato at me for some reason. I don't know.
What?
It's just, okay. So,
let's go back to the potato.
This was very early on in her stay, and I was making dinner one evening and a potato slipped out of my hand, and she interpreted that as I was throwing at her, and she threatened to throw it back and call the FBI on me. All in jest. But it was just the kind of relationship that we developed.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh, that sounds like something right out of a sitcom.
Oh my word. It was, this young lady is the sweetest, gentlest, yet one of the funniest people I've ever met.
Yeah. So note to self, potatoes can be used as collateral damage, but maybe we shouldn't use that as weapons against our host family.
Would be very careful. Yeah.
Yeah. Be careful throwing potatoes around exchange students or dropping them even.
Yes.
So, and of course, with exchange, there is a cultural exchange. So were there any traditions or cultural elements that your students were able to share with you and your family?
Well, our German students shared with us St. Nicholas Day, the celebration of St. Nicholas, I believe, on December 6th, the tradition of leaving your shoes outside of your bedroom, and St. Nicholas would come and fill them with sweet treats.
Oh.
I've asked why shoes, and none of our Germans
Yeah.
can give us a good answer. So,
All right.
so that's one of the big ones.
Yeah.
We live about 2.5 hours south of Chicago. And so we enjoy taking our students to, especially our German students, to the German Christmas market in Chicago each December.
Yeah.
They usually laugh and say it's nothing like back home, but they appreciate the effort.
Yeah. You tried. Gold star.
Yeah.
Were there any specific traditions or cultural elements from your Japanese or your Egyptian student that you were able to partake in with them?
Not necessarily. Now, our Egyptian student was or is a Christian from Egypt, and so their celebrations of the major Christian holidays are different, at least on the calendar, than here in the United States. And so we got to celebrate Christmas and Easter at 2 different occasions.
Fun.
Yes. Our Japanese student was a different experience, not in a bad sense, but there was not a lot of communication there. So, but I think a lot of it was personality.
Yeah.
We learned a lot about the Japanese culture simply by observing him.
Gotcha. And so for your family, how would you say hosting has helped you to develop and grow together?
There's a lot of inside jokes that our family has. A lot of ways that we communicate with each other that have been a direct result of opening our home. My biological children are so open to different cultures. They realize that the world doesn't stop at our borders, that they're part of something bigger. Plus, they get the unusual privilege of having siblings around the world. Yeah, time zones are a pain sometimes, but there's something special about waking up in the morning to, whether it's Snapchat or WhatsApp, whatever, a message from Germany or from Egypt. And for our kids, we've asked them before, and they can't imagine their lives without the students we've hosted, without their siblings.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That intercultural connection, it's really all you could ever hope for with the hosting situation. And I'm curious, for your biological children, has having international siblings potentially influenced them to want to be exchange students themselves?
The closest one we've had was my middle child, who was really looking at it. Was even thinking of taking a gap year between high school and college, and whether doing an exchange or working as an au pair in Europe. But the reality is that all of my children are homebodies, and we are a very close family. As much as I applaud exchange students who can leave their home, their culture, and go somewhere else, I know that my children can't.
Yeah. It's not for everybody, and that is completely okay. That's why hosting is a thing. So maybe you don't have to go to that culture, but you get to bring that culture to you. That's one of the things I find the most beautiful about it. So
definitely.
Would you, again, looking into your background and your current role in the clergy, would you say that hosting has strengthened your faith in any way?
It has caused me to think deeper about how my context affects my theology. And it's forced me to think in broader senses of, and even read some theological perspectives from those cultures that we've hosted. And so it is that just as our culture doesn't, or rather, just as the world doesn't stop at our borders, neither does theology.
Yeah, interesting. That's an interesting way to put it. I like that perspective as well. You have some very interesting perspectives that you've shared with me today, and I really appreciate your candid and honest way of talking about all of this. And so I know that you're getting ready to host your 6th student. Does the welcoming at the airport, is it just as magical the 5th or 6th time around as it was the first time?
Yes.
Really?
It
Okay.
absolutely is. We know a bit more of what to expect. We know a bit more how to navigate things, how to help the students, but it's still almost like Christmas in a sense because it's starting a new relationship.
Yeah.
It is a new experience that starts all over again, regardless of how many times you've hosted. Because obviously we're talking teenagers and every person is different. And while there might be some similarities, we're talking unique personalities and unique perspectives, unique backgrounds. And you just don't know how things are going to be.
Right. And with that unknown factor of all of this, and another question comes to mind with why continue to host? Well, 6 times in over 10 years, that's quite a legacy.
That's a good question. I think it's just because it's become a part of who we are. It's a part of what we do. I hesitate to say it's a ministry because it's really not. But in one sense, we know that there are always a need for host families. There's always more students available than there are host families. It's part of what we do. Our middle child is going off to college next year. And we'll have one biological child left at home. We may have to continue hosting simply because this child isn't used to being an only child. And quite honestly, in the time that our last student has left, our youngest has gotten a little lonely. But it's always fun and it's always interesting. You use the word legacy, and while I don't want to pat ourselves on the back, it is accomplishing what we set out to do in the very beginning, and that is to have an influence and an impact.
Beautifully stated. And you may not want to pat yourself on the back, but I will do that for you. I thank you and all of the host families out there for taking this journey and trusting YFU with it. I know it's not an easy decision for any family by any means. And as great as it can be, I know it's challenging at times too. And the fact that you keep coming back and you keep diving head into this brand new adventure, I applaud you and I thank you so much.
Well, and it wouldn't be possible if it weren't for the fact that whether we're talking from Asia or from Europe or South America, there are some incredible teenagers that are on the other side of the world. And I think if given the opportunity, they have so much to offer and to enrich lives. It is that creating that global citizenship.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about bringing the world into your home?
With YFU USA, hey, that's us. You can. By hosting an exchange student, you'll experience a new culture right in your own home.
It's an incredible opportunity to make lifelong connections and help a young student discover the American way of life.
Visit yfuusa.org to learn more about how you can become a host family today. It's really all we want to do. That's the mission at the heart of this. Not trying to change. I mean, in a way, we are trying to change the world, but at such a smaller scale, and those little changes just keep going and create this big wave of global connectedness. It's really all anybody wants here.
Yes.
So out of curiosity for future exchange students who are potentially looking for their host family or waiting for their host family to find them, I guess is the better way of putting it. What advice do you have for a student to stand out to that host family to make them say, you're the one?
Authenticity. I know I've used that before, but who are you really? And I think that goes both for students and for families. Don't try to be something you're not. Don't try to fit into some mold, but be you. And because that's what's beautiful. And that's what creates the spark. And then it just kind of grows from there.
Yeah. Perfect. And for host families or anybody who's listening who may be considering becoming a host family, why do you think they should?
You don't know what you're missing until you host the first time. It is an adventure. Yes, there are horror stories. Yes, there are bumps along the way. And as my wife and I have tried to recruit other host families, we keep getting I'm too busy to host, or I'm sorry, but we hosted with 3 busy kids. And I don't think hosts or exchange students come over with the expectation that their host family is going to follow them around everywhere, but it's giving them a home base for an experience that it's the experience of a lifetime for the students. But it's also, because every student is different, it's the experience of a lifetime for host families, because every year is different and you will not have 2 experiences that are identical.
Beautifully put. And I know we've gone through a few of the memories and the standout moments during your family's time hosting. Is there one that really stands out to you that we haven't mentioned yet?
Yes.
No,
and I come back to, I'm going to call her Potato Girl.
All right. Welcome to the stage, Potato Girl.
Yes, this was our second student from Germany. She was the same age as, or is the same age as our oldest. So opposite genders, and they became brother and sister in every sense of the word. To the point where they still talk to each other daily, even now that we hosted her 3 years ago. While she was with us, it was their junior year. And my wife and I and her had we concocted a secret plan to bring her back for her class's graduation. And we were able to keep it entirely secret, not only from our kids, but from the community, to the point that we had elaborate cover stories. I have to confess, it was a pretty good plan, but to have her walk into our house unannounced for our children, to have her walk into graduation unannounced to any of her friends there, the squeals and it was like someone had come home, and that will stand out for us.
I can see why I'm kind of tearing up a little bit, honestly. My goodness. I can't imagine your kids expecting a normal day, and then here comes their sister from all the way across the world. That's so, oh my gosh. The elaborate planning on your end. Bravo. and no potatoes were harmed in this plan, right?
But it worked.
Yay.
I will neither confirm nor deny that.
Oh, goodness. I guess to kind of wrap it up and to put a shiny little bow on this beautiful episode, for exchange students and host families who are about to begin their first year, their first experience together, is there one thing in particular that you feel everyone who's coming here to the United States has to experience and their host family has to have them give it a shot?
Wow. In one sense, I mean, that depends completely on the context, the community.
Yeah.
Exchange students, get involved. Do something outside the house. Be a part of your community beyond even if there's scholarship requirements or anything like that, because you will create a family beyond just that host family. And by and large, communities will love you, and you will create that network, and you will have that foundation that will go with you for the rest of your life. Host families, be yourselves, include your students. Don't treat them as guests, but as you would your own children. And I think that's more respectful of them than walking on pins and needles or eggshells. But I've used the word authenticity so much, but just be who you are. Include them, love them. And I think the whole goal, not just of cultural exchanges, it's an experience on both sides. While the hardest part is the tears at the airport when you say goodbye, there's also that satisfaction of knowing this was a good year. And so jump in and have fun with it.
Couldn't have said it any better myself. That was perfect. And for people who may want to keep up with you and what your family is up to while you're on your hosting journey, can they find you online, or are you anywhere we can find?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook.
Okay.
Jarrett Wells.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, it's
all right.
So
perfect. Yeah. If host families or people who may be considering hosting have questions, can they reach out to you?
Absolutely. Would love to answer any questions. My wife is actually a local coordinator with YFU. And so if you're curious, you're wanting, to know more, you're looking for that student, she would love to help connect you either with a coordinator close to where you are or as much as she can to work with you to find that student that's been missing in your family.
Perfect. And in the episode notes, I'll make sure to have ways for people to reach out to you and your wife to have questions answered or just keep up with your adventures. But Jarrett, I can't thank you enough for sitting down and talking to me and sharing your incredible stories. It's been such a pleasure talking to you.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And YFU's just become a passion of ours, and having that connection, that family around the world has enriched my life more than I can imagine.
Perfect. And I certainly feel people's lives will be enriched just by hearing your story too.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. So with all of that said, that has been this episode of Life Exchange Stories of Understanding. I've been your host, Kelsey Ross. Until next time, bye. Listen to Life Exchange Stories of Understanding now on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.